feedback and let's look at how we can reduce the workload on kids. And so I gave the passes out.
That was
I
awesome.
said, listen, if you're doing a project, you shouldn't have to do extra homework at home. It should be a replacement.
I thought
so next time, that'll be
she didn't do her homework that week, so it didn't matter that she didn't have a pass. It didn't get turned in.
And then
more for him than doing these like article of the week.
He's still doing all the reading.
If you could trade it.
So we could definitely continue that, but we'll just make sure that the next time one is assigned, we'll send the message, listen, this is a trade-off for homework.
Can we do it in fourth grade too? Because my son just started the independent study project there, and he's also.
And then fourth grade, I think Ms. Jones's class has already started.
They've already started it, and
so we're excited about it. So thank y'all for being thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for that feedback. We've been really working with our staff to make sure they're providing that for our students.
I thought that made all the difference when I talked to
the homework
person. I'm
passes.
like, the homework passes. That makes
sense. I don't know. Kesty must have somehow kids in his class must get a homework pass because he said something today when he was doing his math homework. He was like, "Oh, I wish I had a homework pass like such and such, whatever some girl's name."
Right.
He was like, "Because I would have used it on this."
And so and they get homework passes from time to time as rewards, but especially if they're doing something extra, I don't want them to feel like they have to do both things.
They were like, I don't want to do independent study.
9 times out of 10, I mean, it depends on the kid. If they're labeled, if they're identified as talented and gifted, that sometimes can mean that they're high achieving, and they might not necessarily need the homework that comes from the regular classes, and they benefit more from the independent study, and more project oriented type of thing. So we're definitely working on that. It's a work in progress. So just bear with us. We're trying to work out the kinks.
No, that's fine. It's like, I mean, last year she didn't get much tag enrichment at all, and she was kind of begging. So it was interesting to see it coming even before the first quarter.
And last year was my test run. I was new to this role last year, and I was also new to a couple of other roles.
Tonight, I don't know about you, but this is the first week where there's been no sports at the end of the day. There's no costumes to make. It's dark. I was joking, maybe we should have like some wine and cheese to get the numbers up. But hopefully we'll have some people joining in online. Dr. Gaines is stuck in traffic. I guess there was an accident on Greenbelt Road, so she will be coming. So we'll get through our agenda, but I move some things around if that's okay with you. So welcome. I can't believe it's November. I hope you all got out and good today. We've actually had a few people come in thinking that this is a polling place, which it is in a general election, but yeah. So we've sent them off to the police station. Hopefully that's the right place. The first order of business, you should have the minutes from our last meeting at your table. If you can take just a few minutes and glance at them. And then I will, if you have any corrections or things that need to be amended to them, we can take that. And then when we're ready, I just need a motion to approve. So we keep 10 minutes. We have a motion to approve. We have a second. Second. All right, so normally we have Dr. Gainesville next, but we'll skip her and come back to her when she gets here. We just have a few things in the president's report. I had wanted, and actually I had hoped my update was going to be a little bit bigger than it's going to be. Remember last time I had said that I was hoping we could support some of the teachers writing some additional ACE grants this year. So we had 2 teachers who reached out to us. I was only able to get one of those grants, and one of the 5th grade teachers had wanted to create some maker spaces within her classroom, which was actually pretty easy to put together, but I was out of town Friday and Monday, and so we didn't hear from them until like Wednesday afternoon. So, and we had also had the idea of trying to put together something with Ms. Hudson on some of the PEP, having some more of the positive encouragement parenting, right? Close enough. There you go. But we didn't quite get that together either. So I guess I'm bringing this up just because we could really use some help with this. I mean, we've missed it for this year, but I do think it's such an easy way to help the teachers out with some of the ideas that they have that next year, I think we had brought it up in our first meeting, but I think we do really need to somehow come up with a better way to push and so that we can support the teachers. Because I'm sure that more of them would have liked our help if we had been able to have a few more hands. Raluca, did you have a suggestion?
Yeah, so probably going in, having a committee.
A committee?
Right, because one person is one point of failure, basically.
Right.
So, I mean, whoever is interested in doing that. And the teachers are busy, but we are busy too.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we communicate this, at least a week.
Yeah. And I had also, I asked Mr. Richardson if he knew how many went in. I think quite a few did go in with the teachers, but I think my hope was that the PTA could also kind of work in collaboration with some of the teachers. But I had also mentioned that the due date of the beginning of November is rough because we've just come back to school. And it's interesting because the funding dates are the end of February through the next March. So it also goes over 2 academic years. And so I said to Mr. Richardson, if they were due in February, there's not nearly as much happening in the winter months. And, that maybe that the ACE committee would think about pushing their due dates back a little bit. Anyways.
The application is pretty much the same for me here.
Pretty much. And they're not hard. You just have to have time to do that. Because you have to put a budget together and some rationale. They're not complicated, but
But if someone were to, we were saying, if we were to form a committee now and basically get a proposal written by June, our last meeting in May or something, with kind of Mad Lib style, number here, then
Mad Lib, great proposals. I love it.
if we set our own deadline for May 30th and then just have it done
for next year. Yeah. I think we could do that. I think the other thing is the teachers are supposed to align it with the curriculum because it's supposed to support, which the curriculum I don't think changes that much, but teachers change. Sometimes they move classrooms. You might not know what grade you're teaching, but if there were some things overall for the school that the administration was hoping, then I think that would be a great suggestion. Maybe we can talk about it later at the next meeting or later when Dr. Gaines is here. Because it's the easiest $600 the teachers are ever going to get. You know what I mean? So, cool. All right, I am actually going to turn it over to Jessica. We are trying really hard to pull out more of the voices and get your thoughts and perspectives. And Jessica had a easy, great suggestion on how we might be able to do that versus putting you all on the spot and making you talk in public. So Jessica is going to talk in public.
Hi, everybody. We want to be a PTA who listens, who appreciates teachers, encourages one another, encourages teachers, and really combines our kind of shared visions. And we felt like it would be nice to include that more than a year weekly meetings. We want to respect time, so we always try to limit it to an hour and a half. But there's a lot of perspectives, there's a lot of talents just in this room, and then of course the broader school community. So to that end, I just thought we could kind of share about things that we're appreciating. I'm looking back there because I kind of have little like posters where you will eventually stick a sticky note with something you're appreciating and something you are wondering. And it's very open. Something that you're appreciating about Greenville Elementary, or about your child's teacher, or about this group, or anything related to school. And something you're wondering can be just a curiosity, something you don't know about but you've heard about in the school. It could be something about raising kids or having a fifth grader, or something you would like to see maybe us think and talk more about. So they're very open, and please just take a moment to respond. We won't necessarily read every single one of them out loud tonight, but would love to hear if you're willing to share with the group afterwards what yours are. Or if it's okay, I can just read a few. If you don't want yours read out loud, you can jot it down. For anyone who's not here, Nick, are there people that are?
Yeah, I've got one comment from the YouTube already.
Okay, great. Ready to comment? Everyone else. And Jessica, if there's something specific that they're appreciating for a teacher, can you share it with the teacher after? The teacher knows. Yeah. Or, for example, I put the nurse on here because I keep getting calls from the nurse. And I'm appreciative that it's not the teacher who's having to deal with that.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense to compile this information for us, but also to share out with the staff here.
And I think the I'm wondering piece can also help us. We always reach out to Dr. Gaines on things that we might want her to touch upon in this meeting or in other venues. So things that you're wondering that can also help her and others figure out how to better communicate with everybody.
Does anyone have any questions?
When there's Post-its on your table, if you can just sort of write one idea on the Post-it and stick it up. As many or as few as you want. And just social very well.
Unless anyone objects, I'll just share a couple from each. Here's some wondering from us. I'm wondering how the decision is made to go outside. I'm wondering how often kindergartners are tested. I'm wondering about the transition to middle school. What are my options for middle school? I'm going to put those two together. Here's someone wondering about activities that the TAG students do. Someone is wondering if there will be aids for the large kindergarten classroom. Any discussion or actions underway to improve the nutritional quality of school lunch? I'm noticing that there's a lot of appreciation. That's cool. I'm wondering if mobile classrooms to help with space is being considered. School communication. There's so much communication coming at us. I'm summarizing. Is there a way to consolidate? I'm going to move on to the appreciation. I appreciate Ms. Stagg. I'm appreciating the wonderful before-after care program. I'm appreciating Dr. Gaines' ability to hire high-quality teachers. I love Ms. McCoy's positive attitude and joy for her work. My daughter's calm classroom that's been a positive learning environment, and she's happier in school this year. I appreciate teacher involvement, the teacher costumes for the book parade, the time they put into it. I'm appreciating how supportive the staff has been to my kindergartner's tough transition. Many people have helped her. High quality educators and education. Creativity and enthusiasm of Ms. Jenkins. Involved parent community. I'm appreciating, maybe this one, how can we support the Russian language program with books, materials? I think that's a wonder. Something about Ms. Morrison, the school nurse. Lots of good things. So we will save these and compile and pass it on to people who may be able to help, or just know that it's on our minds, even if there's not an immediate answer, and also share the appreciation.
So Dr. Gaines just joined us. We will share these with you. Okay. So we talked a little bit about what parents are wondering and what they're appreciating. So I think some of those appreciating we might want to share with some of the staff and teachers. Dr. Gaines, do you mind if I let Lena go and then we'll go to your report just as she has to head out? Is that okay? Okay. So I'm going to give the floor to Lena, who's been leading our efforts to kind of get us set up with the Silver Diner, and she's got a ton to report on.
Yeah, so I don't want to speak so one big thing is that when I went to get us all set back up, we hadn't been a partner for 2 years. They had $700 sitting in the account for us that we had never picked up. So I was able to get that to Dr. Gaines for the school. Because they made it out to $3.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So that was exciting that there was just $700 there, and part of that was because people who are paired with Greenbelt Elementary for the Eat Well, Do Well program already have just been contributing over the last 3 to 4 years, and so that money adds up. They give 5% of every purchase, which is a lot. It's more than most. Like think of like a grocery store will give 1% of your purchase to whatever it is.
Amazon gives 0.5%.
Right, 0.5%. Right. So you think 5% of like a $40 meal, it's a pretty decent.
You just mention that when you go there.
So this is part of it. So part of the purpose for the restaurant night on the 14th, we will get 20% of all of their sales from 5 to 7 p.m. over what they did this Thursday. So nobody go eat there this Thursday. Thursdays are a very slow night there, and so that's why they do their restaurant nights Tuesdays through Thursdays. And so if they did $500 in sales tomorrow, and next week they do 1,500, we would get 20% of the 1,000, which is nice for just going out to eat and share community and all of that. What they'll also do is they'll be helping people get set up for the Eat Well, Do Well program. I have it on my phone as an app because it's so much easier. You just check in and it gives you like a 4-digit code to give them. They also have a card that you can give them to scan, all of that good stuff. And so they'll be helping people sign up for that on site. And they'll give us extra flyers that we can give to school for families to have and all that good stuff. What they also gave us was a gigantic stack of free kids meal certificates for honor roll students. And so that was awesome. They were like, if you guys run out, we've got more. And so they're very, very excited to be partnering with us again. If you have neighbors and folks like that frequent Silver Diner anyway, have them sign up for Eat Well, Do Well because it will just give us more money.
But they need to designate that they want the Eat Well, Do Well connected to the elementary.
Yeah, and they'll help them get connected. When you sign up for Eat Well, Do Well, it asks you what school you want to pair to. And so they will have a whole table set up there just to help people sign up. Their servers go around and help people sign up. They have a laptop, all that good stuff. So they're excited to have us next week. They are open to us doing another one in the spring if we want to. I would love to do like a themed diner night at the school and like make it a sock hop and have a costume contest or something with prizes. And they were like, absolutely. So we can think more about that for the spring to do another one. But it also counts if you just order to go. So like you can just call it in, pick it up and roll out and it'll still count. It'll still help earn money. So Ms. Stagg was going to talk to some of the clubs to see if they wanted to do baskets because they do allow us to do like raffle prizes. So like $1 for a raffle ticket to win a basket. Some of the clubs were thinking about doing that to raise some money for their clubs. And then we have the option of doing a 50-50 raffle if we want to. So that's something that we would need to decide if we want to do a 50-50 raffle.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so like it really is just, it would be however much you want it to be. It can be $1, it can be $3, it can be $5. But whoever wins, whoever's ticket is picked at the end of the night wins half of the pot. And then 50% goes to the PTA or whatever cause. So it may go to 5th grade because they have the highest cost per year. So we could give half to 5th grade and keep the person that wins would keep the other half. So if you had $150, they would get $75. So that's also an option.
I'm going to talk to the 5th grade teachers because I know last year they used a couple of events to, like the bake sale at the spring fair to raise money for the dance they did and the graduation piece. So I wonder, I mean, that might be a good opportunity in the spring for them.
Yeah, and I can follow up with her too about if any clubs decided to do anything for now. Or if there's a specific grade level, or if teachers wanted to sponsor a basket for like a holiday party for teachers, for the 401 break, right? Like if there were things that people wanted to sponsor. The only thing they don't allow us to sell is food, because they sell food. And even if it's in a basket and it's a gift basket, that's not prohibited, that's okay. Like as long as we're not selling hot dogs on the side, you know. I thought that was funny that they had to like specify but no, they're excited to have us. If your kid is like my daughter loves pretending to be a server. So if your kid is interested in helping serve their teachers and their friends, they are open to that. You just have to come like 10-15 minutes early so they can give you a quick orientation. They had one school where the kids just rolled all the silverware, and so the servers loved it. They did whatever they wanted because the kids were loving rolling the silverware. So they really get into kids and families helping and all of that, and it's a lot of fun for the kids to be able to serve too. So
So our restaurant night is November 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. And we've put an event up on Facebook. We've shared it through our listserv, which we will obviously do again. But if you are interested in some of these other things, please contact Lena. She can help you coordinate that. And we'll do another push to remind people of the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's also kind of nice if you like reach out to your friends and have a couple of families meet you there.
Was the school district give a newsletter this week?
The flyer wasn't a newsletter a couple weeks ago, and so Ms. Saget said that she would push it back. I think it was actually in the newsletter this past week.
I saw it in there.
And so,
Dr. Haynes, we were also talking, she had the idea to do a robocall. Is Ms. Smith, can she do robocalls?
So she's in the process. She did the training.
Okay.
Because we tried to get one out today about the 3-hour early dismissal.
Yeah.
And it was something else that she needed to do, but
Okay.
it should be up and running hopefully for the next week.
Okay, so we can.
because I know like today, my daughter's teacher sent it out on Class Dojo and on email. And so maybe, I don't want to add to teachers' plates, but even if they'd be willing to say, send it out next Wednesday, like, hey, don't remember, come eat dinner with us at Silver Diner tomorrow night. Even through like Class Dojo works great. It sent me a notification and everything. Or like that quick email. If teachers would be willing, that would be awesome too. Just so that I feel like when teachers send me something, I pay attention to it.
Also, it's 24 hours before the letter.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we always get complaints, we didn't know about it, so we give advance notice, we'll give you notice.
Yeah, and I'm starting to my newsletter every week.
Thank you for setting that all up. Thank you for picking up the chat. I feel like I just want to show up and have somebody hand me a $700.
Yeah. And their only stipulation is it has to be for health and wellness for the school. That anything we need.
Yeah, seriously.
Everything.
Everything is health and wellness, totally. Cool. All right. Dr. Haynes, can I turn it over to you?
Good evening, everyone. Stuck in traffic. I wasn't expecting that. It was an accident up on Greenbelt Road and shut everything down.
That's scary.
I was like, I'm glad I stopped to use the restroom before I got there. It sounded like dog issues. I've been really stuck. But everything, I don't have a lot to report. It's the end of the first quarter already. Time is flying by. I don't know where the month of October went. But it's the end of the first quarter, so there's a 3-hour early dismissal today. Teachers are wrapping up for tomorrow. What did I say?
Today.
But there's a 3-hour early dismissal tomorrow. Teachers will be doing grades and report cards will be coming out. I don't remember that date, but I do know that we scheduled the first honor roll assembly, I think, for the 22nd. And so the flyer will be coming home for that this week as well. Things are going well. I haven't had a lot of complaints about things. We really try to be proactive in making sure that parents get all the information that they need. We keep emphasizing that if you're not getting a weekly newsletter from your teachers, to make sure that you are on their distribution list, because they're compiling these newsletters every week with information about every content area, every activity that we have in the building. And so we really want to make sure that all parents are getting that information. The only other thing I had here was a note about, anybody know anyone who wants to be a substitute? We are struggling with substitute teachers. And so, there's always meetings that teachers can go to for professional development. It's this change of weather. People are, time where people aren't feeling well. But if you know someone that has a college degree or at least 60 college credits, definitely ask them to contact me if they're interested, and I can kind of get them started with the process of becoming a substitute teacher. And with that, there's a part you have to go through Prince George's County, but then it's flexible if your schedule meets that need. And, you can pick where you want to substitute, when, what days, that type of thing. But I think because we're a late school, we get hit harder because they have this program that calls substitutes in the morning. And so if you're up to get those calls, a lot of the substitutes like to go to an earlier school that starts at 8 o'clock versus 9 o'clock because you can get out at 2 o'clock. And a lot of them have evening jobs or afternoon jobs. So if you know anyone that's interested, or if you're interested, I mean, no. But I didn't have anything else. If anyone has anything for me, yes.
I was gonna ask, I think one of the things that we've been struggling with is that assessments are like 40% of the grade. But at least in my daughter's class, the assessments are like a 10-question worksheet. And there's only 2 or 3 of them for the whole quarter. So if she got 6 out of 10 on one, her grade has dropped significantly when she's gotten 100 on all of the classwork. So is there any conversation amongst staff about sort of helping balance, like, because that's a county given scale, like I get that part, but like helping to balance that like the assessment is 40% of the grade, but if we're only doing 2 assessments in a quarter and the kid is just, you know, they rush through the assessment or something, you know, like, is that something that's coming up across the school for you all? Like,
and so one thing this year I have not heard anyone say anything about it. We do training with the teachers around grading and best practices around grading. You know, I actually do exercises with the teachers to show them how quickly grades can drop with 1 or 2 grades. And so our goal is to paint a picture of how the students are doing throughout a quarter. And so one thing that I was even struggling with this with my daughter this quarter, like she's been doing very well. And then at the end, the teacher gave like these projects and then the quarter closes and I'm thinking, you gotta still have A's in those classes, but I really don't know. If she got a B on a project, it could affect the grade. And so we definitely, you know, work with the teachers on, you know, seeing how we've actually done exercises where we sit there and we calculate grades and show them how, you know, low grades can affect when you only have a couple of assessments, how that really carries the weight of the grade for the quarter. But I mean, if you have specific concerns, I would need to know the teacher. I mean, I do things like Miss Stagg every week checks grade books. And so we go through and we spot check grade books and see, but mathematically we're not averaging them up to see. So if there's a concern, then I would first go to the teacher and say something to the teacher, and then if not, let us know and we can look into it. You know, but we definitely work with the teachers on grading.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if like other people had that experience too, like.
Experience as well.
Yeah, like I look at the grade book one week and then I look again, I'm like, what is there? And I'm like, oh, it's just one grade, never mind. Yeah. And my daughter's like, what do you mean I have a B? I thought I was doing well. I don't want to have, you know, like they get so stressed out about their grades.
Right.
And it's like, I want you to be successful, but her teachers at least allow them to like redo things to improve the assessment grading. But she didn't realize that at first. And so like I emailed and said, hey, can she make this up somehow? And they're like, no, we probably get every week.
Yeah, and so that's another thing that we talk about across the board. Like we get no benefit from kids getting a paper and, you know, not being successful on it, and then you put it in your folder and take it home. You know, we give them the opportunity to redo the assignments because the goal is to make sure that they understand whatever the skill is. So definitely, if you have any questions about grades, I would contact the teachers directly. Yes.
That part about making up work that, you know, they're turning it in late or redoing it, is that kind of across the board thing? Because I talk to my kids and I feel like every time I got to talk to the teacher because my children are unreliable in terms of information communication. So I'm like, why don't you ask her, when did you do it? I mean, I know it was due yesterday, but maybe you can do it. No, yeah. And so I don't want to keep bugging the teacher every single time about every single little thing.
Right.
And the child be independent, but.
Right, and so, I mean, the goal is to get kids, just like as we're preparing kids for careers and college. And so when I think about my situation, if I have a report that's due tomorrow, that's when it's due. You know, if something comes up that I can't get it done, I can contact my supervisor and say, hey, had a PTA meeting last night, was stuck in traffic, this happened, can I get it to you this afternoon, as opposed to whenever it's due. So definitely have a conversation, but our goal is to get kids to turn things in on time because it makes more work for the teachers when I, collect an assignment and then I spend, Tuesday night grade the assignment and then Thursday, here comes 3 other people. Now I have to go back to grade this assignment. So I don't think that everyone is going to be as flexible with that, just that, oh, I'm just turning it in late. But if there's a legitimate reason why, when we were talking about making things up, we were talking about more, so essays, writing assignments, testing quizzes, but not just, I don't have my homework and I'll just give it to you next week. No, not those types of things. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There are times where like I'll get the grade because I don't necessarily know what they're learning in class like day to day, and I'll get their quizzes like from class and like if he were to like get one, I think specifically I remember they were learning rural and urban, and he got like maybe a 6 out of 10 or something like that. So I obviously knew that he just didn't get the concept. But we were able to kind of like talk to the teacher again. She said that happened with the kids. But is there a way we can kind of like, if certain things that are coming up that we can actually like help them before they actually go into the class and learn the concept? Like,
so a syllabus was given at the beginning of the year for the classes, so you can talk to, once again, I would always suggest to talk with the teachers. But talk with the teacher, there's a syllabus which kind of outlines what they're gonna learn over the course of the school year. And so you can look at those topics, if it's social studies you're referencing, you can look at those topics and you're welcome to prepare your child however you need to. But the teachers realistically are not gonna be able to tell you, on Monday, we're gonna work on this, and Wednesday, and next Friday, detail, but they can give you the overall topics and things. So there's a syllabus for each course.
And I feel like the newsletters they send out.
And the newsletters, that's why they do the newsletters, to kind of, the newsletters were designed to give parents a tool to say, hey, this is what we're going to be working on next week. The newsletters, we were hoping that parents would use it as a conversation piece. If Sydney, how was school today? Fine, what you learned, nothing, like just the regular old questions. But if I know that in her, algebra class, they're gonna be working on, I can't even think tonight, but whatever they're gonna be working on, then I can have a conversation with her about specifically, like today I checked her email, so I knew that she had biology homework. So when I asked her, she was like, no, I had Spanish. I was like, what about your biology? Did you bring your biology book home? She's like, yes, mommy, but you were giving you this information so that you can use it to have conversations with your children about the work. So definitely the newsletter, definitely if you want something more specific, you can get the syllabus for the class. And then anything else, I would just advise you to just talk with the teachers to see. I have great teachers on staff, and they're always willing to help in any way that they can. So definitely encourage that. Yes.
Moving on to different subject. When Ms. Dad was here at the meeting last month, she mentioned that there were maybe in the works trying to find aides or something for the kindergarten classrooms. I just wondered if there were any.
So I did go to a job there last Friday. So we hired 2 paraprofessionals for kindergarten to help out. So hopefully,
It turns colder, I know there's times when it's too cold to go outside, or too wet to go outside. Is that a school-wide decision, or is there some, like, temperature cutoff, or feels like cutoff, or is it just at the teacher's discretion?
No, so there is a, I don't know, why didn't I help you with anything?
I'm sorry.
What is the temperature? There's a guideline, I think it says 32, it's below 32, if the wind chill is specific, then we don't go outside
At
for
the
recess.
time, at the time, like if they have whatever it is, 11:30.
Right.
Can you update us on the drainage efforts for the plan?
So,
You should just assume that that's gonna come up.
Yeah, I ask all the time, about it. The last update was that, the people came back out to look at the drainage system. And I don't know, I don't even think I have an answer. Like, when I've asked about it, they know it's a problem, but I'm just not sure if they know how to fix that problem right now. They talked about they were supposed to try to insert some grates back there. So follow up on that and ask again to see where we are. Because I know last year, this is the district. But I think that last year, when we talked about it, it was too cold for them to take. And because of this, the way the field is with the dampness when it rains, it's like you can only, they talked about this machine that they have to bring out to do the work, and they were afraid that the machine would get stuck because it's so heavy and the grass in that area is so damp and wet. So I will definitely check with them again to see what the status is.
Can I just add one thing to that real quick? So last year and in the years past, sometimes the PTA will put a letter together and send it in. Last year, we decided not to do it because it was so wet last year that we were like, well, that's kind of a fair thing. It's been super dry this year. If we wrote a letter, I don't want to go against any efforts or make your efforts harder, but if the PTA put a letter together, do you think that would help at all?
I'm not going to say it'll help, but we can always try.
It won't hurt. It won't hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. We can look into that because we've written letters in the past, and then sometimes we'll just get signatures electronically and send it in and say that it's on behalf of the PTA.
It is about this, go ahead.
Just my 2 cents, I sort of came to more peace about it when, I think there was an article in the news review at some point that talked about the backlog of needs at various schools, including other schools in Greenbelt, that were much more severe, like mold in the school or things like that.
Like not working bathrooms.
So it was helpful for like that perspective, or to give that perspective. And maybe we could write letters for those schools. I don't know what that would look like, but and my other thought, well, just me personally, I check in with my daughter. Did you get to go outside today? And I'm hearing a lot of yes. So for our personal experience, and I'm sure it differs by teacher, and they're like,
I had no
toughness for the weather.
all last week. Oh, no.
So it's different, different for different.
Yeah. But today was a yes. But last week. Okay, third day.
You know,
And so,
heartbreaking.
and so you can talk to me more about that. Because last week, I don't know, was it rain or something?
It rained on Sunday, and then it was sunny and like 70 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it rained on Thursday, and it was sunny again on Friday.
Right. And so I know that some kids did go outside for recess last week because when they came in, it was mud everywhere, all over their hands, all over their shoes. And then we get the phone calls because parents are upset because things have been ruined. And so I don't know, you would have to tell me the teacher in the class, and I'll have to follow up on it. But it's just kind of catch-22. You know, if it does rain, if it goes, I know a couple of days, I think that was the week before when it rained really hard, yeah, it stays wet, and so they don't take the kids out because then they get complaints from parents because they're slipping, they're falling. I mean, it was 2 kids where they were like playing and didn't see it and got in some mud. And I mean, it was covered with mud to the point where we had to call the parents from work to say we need a change of clothes, you know. So I'm not sure, I don't recall.
That's a hard situation.
Right. Right. But I would definitely check and, you know, just reiterate to the teachers like they know that the kids should be going out. And sometimes they do make a judgment call if it has rained really hard the day before.
Does the blacktop get crowded? Is that why they?
So, right. So most grade levels have at least 100 kids. And so for 100 kids to be on the blacktop, it doesn't work. And then when it is that 70-degree day, if it is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, when Mr. Robles is here, one of the PE teachers will take their kids out. And if one class is outside, then no one can go on the blacktop because PE is on the blacktop. So, yeah.
I think you had a question, and then maybe we can
Yeah, and it may be a little bit more personal, so that, you know, so we're new this year, and so I don't have access to the blackboard or where the grades go in, to the website. Yeah, so I spoke to the front office, and they said it's only one person at the school who can do it. I followed back up with the front office, and I didn't really get anything back, so I haven't access to my son.
Right, and so you can't just go to Prince George's County website, you went to the website?
Right, and so I typed in his information, and it's not registered to my email address, it's registered to his dad's email address, and we need both of our information in there, so, because I can't see.
Right, so, yeah, we can follow up with that.
Okay.
Does everyone know about school maps? Does anyone else have
I
any?
don't know about that.
You don't know about school maps, okay. So you need your, each student has a, like a
Student number.
Yeah, and it's really easy. Maybe we can send out a link to how you would register for that. When my daughter was in kindergarten, I also didn't know about it, and I kept hearing school maps. I now look at it probably every other day, because you see assignments, you see grades, you see all that kind of stuff. And so that is how Dr. Gaines said she asked me about, what was it, science or biology. That's why I'm like, hey, Milo, what's that worksheet about? And he's like, I don't know about that.
So the school max is the teacher's online grade book.
Yeah,
So,
and they use it, it feels, I don't know how often they update it.
so the teachers, they have to
but
update it by, Sunday evenings. And so some of that, they have to do it by at least every Sunday, but some teachers do it more often. And so you can go in and see up-to-date grades. So I told parents, as opposed to like waiting for a progress report, like you don't need a progress report. By the time you get those progress reports, the grades have already changed anyway, because it's like a 2-week lag period between.
Yeah.
So I would definitely, look at the school, go to PGCPS and put in School Max Family Portal. It has the steps there.
You do need your child's PIN or student ID number, which I'm pretty sure the secretary here can give you if you don't have it. Say that again?
Like, I think when I got it, my daughter's teacher gave it to me.
The student ID number.
And there used to be a flyer we used to send out, I think we still have that, maybe we can forward that to grade level parents to include in the newsletter.
And it might be good with report cards coming out soon, and some parents are like, what? This is how they would have, yeah. But that's also good for us, like that's something we as a PTA can also like alert parents to at the beginning of the year as well.
So when is the official end of the quarter? Like, and grades are due, so they're due tomorrow?
I address what I know to address. Like I don't know the answers. I don't know all the answers like you do.
Dr. Gaines, we're turning it over to him, and now he's gonna get put on the spot.
So feel free to jump in whenever you can.
So, we had a couple of questions about the TAG program at our last meeting, and even before we reached out to Mr. Richardson, he had reached out to us to give us an update on the TAG program here. So Mr. Richardson, I'll turn it over to you. I just gave you your PhD there.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, so good evening again, everybody. Thank you guys for coming out. Today we're going to talk about talented and gifted students. We're going to share some information about our school and how those students are performing. And we're going to quickly go over some common characteristics of gifted students and also look at our identification process and as well as our program here at Greenbow. And so I just kind of went over the objectives. I won't do that again. All right, so characteristics of intellectually gifted students: high levels of language development and verbal ability, comprehend materials at advanced levels, accelerated thought processes, learn rapidly, especially areas of interest, and learn things at an earlier age. These students may also prefer to work alone. So while you might see some of these characteristics in some gifted students, and you might see some of these characteristics in students who are not identified as gifted students, these are just some common things that we see in students who are identified as gifted. And so common effective characteristics of gifted students: they're unusually sensitive to the feelings of others, unusual emotional depth and intensity, advanced levels of moral judgment, and they may be perfectionists. So often those gifted students will really want to perfect anything they're working on, and they're not able to move on from it until they get it just right, until it meets their standards. And so again, you might see some of these characteristics in your own children. We also have atypical gifted students. These students will be English language learners, students from diverse backgrounds and cultures, students from low socioeconomic backgrounds, and twice exceptional students, those students who are talented and gifted and also have been identified with a learning disability. So those are atypical gifted students. So again, I think we all have in mind what a gifted student should behave like, what a gifted student should look like. But as you can see, it can vary from child to child, and it depends on the student. And so we have a diverse array of talented and gifted students. They come from all backgrounds. And so here's a little bit about the Greenbelt Elementary TAG program. We use flexible grouping here. Well, before I get to that, we have the TAG in a regular classroom program here, which means that our teachers are provided professional development and training to address the needs of the gifted learners in their classrooms. And so we use flexible grouping in core content areas. So you might hear your students talk about, or your children talk about what reading group they're in, what math group they're in, what they're learning in their groups. That's what the flexible grouping is. Implementing high quality curriculum presented by TAG trained teachers. I just spoke about how our teachers are trained in talented and gifted strategies. They receive ongoing professional development to assist with that. Grouping students in cluster groups. And so here at Greenbelt, it's best practice. Research says that gifted students should be with other gifted students. And so those classes where we have gifted students in, we ensure that there are at least 7 or 8 other gifted students in a cluster group placed with them. Because they should have experiences with students who think like them and who have similar interests as them. To provide regularly scheduled opportunities for students to meet intellectual peers. Again, that goes back to the grouping students in cluster groups. And develop an understanding of the purposes and processes of self and group evaluation. Just taking that time to really reflect on their work, how they cooperated with each other, thinking about what they can do to improve the next time. That's what we want for our gifted students, and really for all students. All right, so again, we're talking about the Greenbelt Elementary TAG program. We're looking at a learning environment in which instructional strategies are appropriate to the unique learning characteristics of the intellectually gifted are utilized. To provide opportunities for individuals and small groups to utilize advanced research study skills in designing and conducting independent investigations. And so one of the goals this year for our Talented and Gifted program is to really increase the, build the capacity of teachers that we have to provide those research opportunities for those students that allow them to really research things that they're interested in on a topic that they want to research about, and then figure out a way how to present that or determine a way to present that to their classmates in a way that's interesting to them. And we also want to make sure that they acquire advanced competencies and higher level thinking skills, research skills, as I mentioned before, study skills, and communication skills. All right, so the identification process here at PGCPS, of course, we use multiple criteria. There's a cognitive ability test called the OSAT assessment that we use to assess the cognitive portion of the identification process of the student. This is a universal screening in grades 1 and 3. And so any student in grade 1, any student in grade 3 will receive the OSAT assessment. Some of you, if you have a student that's in 3rd grade, you probably have already heard about the OSAT. And it's coming up again in the 1st grade. I think they're starting it tomorrow in 1st grade. And so any student that's not already identified as TAG in 1st or 3rd grade will be administered the OSAT. We also look at achievement test data, and we're going to be taking a look at that in a moment. That's the PART data, MCAP data that we had from last year and in previous years, and also looking at MAP-R data and any math benchmarks that we may have, any information on math that we use to make that decision about whether or not a student can be identified as talented and gifted. Also, teachers have a say-so in that process. So every time we evaluate a student, we make sure that teachers receive a checklist which they go through and they collaborate on to determine whether or not they see those characteristics in their students. And also, of course, we look at grades. And so there's multiple criteria. We really don't, hone in just on one test or hone in just on grades. We try to take a complete look at the whole child and make sure that we're making wise choices about wise and inclusive choices about gifted education. All right, so I just kind of talked about that. Universal screening for grades 1 and 3. Anybody that's new to PGCPS who has not taken the OSAT before, they're provided with an opportunity to take the OSAT assessment in grades 2, 4, and 5, but that's only if they're new to the district. And so there is a nomination process that we have in place. Test nomination, that means anybody that scores the 81st percentile on the cognitive OSAT assessment will be automatically nominated by me for screening and talented and gifted. Parents can also nominate, so the nomination window for parents is September 5th to January 15th. But with that, let's say if you have a kid that's maybe in 4th grade and you nominate your student to be tested for tags, we're gonna go back and look at that 3rd grade OSAT data to pull that, because those scores are good for 2 years straight. Teacher staff nominations, teachers can nominate students, and self-nomination, we don't see that in elementary school, but in middle school and high school, or actually in middle school rather than high school, you might have kids who will nominate themselves for tag assessment. Okay. So now we're going to talk about our students, our tag students, and how they performed this year here at Greenville Elementary. On your tabletop, you'll find a packet that has this information too. I just didn't know how well it would display on the screen, so I wanted to make sure that everybody had access to it and could see it. So first we're going to just talk about the enrollment data. And so in grade 2, we have 14 tag students this year that have been identified. And remember, these students were identified from last year in 1st grade when they took the OSAT assessment, unless they're brand new to PGCPS. We have 85 students total in 2nd grade, and we have a 60% rate of talented and gifted students, or 60% of the grade level is identified as talented and gifted in 2nd grade. And that contrasts with 27% for the year before, okay? And so again, you'll kind of see as we move along that pattern, because those kids right here, who are the 27%, they're now in 3rd grade. And so you're gonna see that they have a higher percentage than the 2nd grade. So in grade 3, we have 13 gifted students, 80 total students, and then we have 60% percentage of tag kids for 19 to 2000. And then last year, the year before that, in 2018, 2019, that was 19%. Grade 4, we got 21 students. Total number of students in grade 4 is 93. So that gives us a 23% of tag students in grade 4. And in grade 5, 27 students have been identified as talented and gifted, 117 overall, that's 23%. So total-wise, we have 75 talented and gifted students identified in our building, and that means 25% of the school's population is identified as talented and gifted. I think that's pretty good. I was looking for data about like overall data for each school, or in PGCPS for elementary schools. I couldn't really find that, but it would be nice to see if we compare how many the percentage of our school versus maybe other schools in the district.
So the national average is about 10% of the population.
So we'll be the national average.
Population, yeah.
Thank you for jumping in when I needed you. I appreciate it. So talented and gifted there. Now we're looking at MAP-R. If you guys know about the MAP-R assessment, it's a measure of academic progress, and it relates to reading. So this is a reading benchmark that we give 3 times a year. We give it in the fall, we give it in the winter, and we give it in the spring just before students go home for summer break. And so we do have the data here for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and 5th grade. You'll note that we don't have any data for kindergarten or 1st grade because the talented and gifted program at PGCPS starts in 2nd grade. And so in 2nd grade, the percent of tag students reading above grade level is 64%. Percent of tag students reading on grade level is 21% of 2nd grade. And again, this is just not the grade level, but this is just those students who have been identified as gifted. And percent of talented and gifted students reading below grade level is 14%. And so as you can see, we typically think of gifted students as being academically strong, but as you can see by this data, it's not always the case. Sometimes they struggle academically, and they might be more inclined creatively. And then also sometimes they have weaknesses in certain subject areas. And so certain students might perform better in reading than in math. 3rd grade, 62% of students scored above grade level. 23% of tag students scored on grade level when you're looking at the MAP-R. And then 15% scored below grade level. And so interestingly enough, we do have data for high growth, high achievement for the rest of the grades, because these grades, grades 3, 4, and 5, they've taken the MAP-R assessment the year prior. So we can kind of track the progress and measure the growth. Yes, ma'am.
What did we
Is fifth grade, this year's fifth graders? Or
Yes.
Last year, okay.
This is this year.
Done one of the assessments.
Yeah. And so some of this data for fifth grade, since we just took the MCAT, I keep saying MCAT, I'm sorry. We just took the math R for fifth grade earlier this year in the fall. And so the growth measures that we have here on the end, they come from fourth grade. And so they're looking at how the students, we're looking at how the students grew from fourth grade to fifth grade. And so for third grade, we have a percent of high growth and high achievement. This means that these students are not only scored high on the math R assessment, but they're also growing too. And that's one thing we've noticed in the data, that often students who are labeled talented and gifted, those strong readers, they tend to score really high. They have a high achievement level on those assessments, but because they're so high, it's difficult for them to grow sometimes. And so we're really working with the teachers to make sure that they're providing small group instruction, challenging those students with, I guess, lexile or texts that are aligned to their ability and their capabilities, to make sure that we can get them to move, to make sure that we can get them to grow. And so when you look at third grade, 31% high growth, high achievement, 46% low growth and high achievement. That means those students, that 46% in third grade, they had a low growth, which means they didn't really grow much from fourth or second grade to third grade, but they're still in that high achievement category. And then we have 23% low growth and low achievement. These students are not scoring, they're not having, they have low achievement on the math R assessment, but then they're not showing any growth either. So that's also a concern for us. Fourth grade, 67% of TAC students reading above grade level, 29 reading on, 5% reading below. And again, looking at those growth measures, 71% in fourth grade are showing high growth, high achievement. That's pretty awesome. Oh, sorry, my computer went to sleep. That's my sign that I'm talking too much. Okay, back to fourth grade, low growth, high achievement, again, 29%, and 0% low growth, low achievement. So fourth grade is looking pretty good when it comes to the reading data, the TAC kids are. And in fifth grade, 52% are above grade level, 30% are on grade level, 19 are below. And then 48% high growth, high achievement, 48% are low growth and low achievement, and 4% are low growth, low achievement. And so again, these two on the end are a concern of us, because even though they're high achievement, we want them to still move. We still want them to grow. And then also, when you look at low growth and low achievement, that's an issue as well. And so any of this data, it's not specific student data. You can always talk to your teachers, or even talk to me if you're interested in getting specific data for your child.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I've noticed the low growth high achievement before, and I wondered how much of a factor is it, let's be crazy. Let's say you've got a third grader who's reading at ninth grade level. It's going to be hard for them to have high growth.
Right.
So I suppose that's in there too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
So, but some of those kids, by contrast, are third graders reading at the fifth grade level and they're not going up. So
right.
How do you sort
right.
Those?
And so you have to look at the individual student data. That's really the only way to look at that. And like you said, there's like a second grader that we assess, and he's reading at like a 6th, 7th grade level already. And so in a second grade classroom, it's going to be hard to grow when you're reading that high. And so he might show up as low growth, high achievement, but looking at his data, we'll know, okay, he's already this high. And so it's really difficult to get a kid to grow once they reach that level. Okay. And so this is some hard data, or MCAT data from last year. And so here I have information where we talk about our kids, our TAC kids, and we compare them to PGCPS. So when you're looking at English language arts, the fifth graders, 41% of our students score in a 5. Let's go back. This is current fifth graders. These two charts, current fifth graders. And so when you see the 5, this is not grade level, this is a score. So the highest score you can get, achievement level on the part, is a 5. And so 41% of our gifted students here at Greenville score a 5 in the English language arts part assessment, compared to PGCPS overall, only 28%. And so when you look at level 4s, 44% score level 4, 53.3% scored a level 4 in PGCPS. And then when you think about that, that seems higher, but when you look at how many more 5s we have, that probably answers that question. And when you look at 3s, 15% of Greenbelt students scored level 3, 15% scored the PGCPS overall, a level 3. And so again, we're right there with each other there. And so when you're looking at math for current fifth graders, 7% scored 5 in math, and that just beats the PGCPS average of the 6.6%. So of course, if you're looking at that and you're comparing it to language arts, you can see that math is a growth area for us. And so fours, 70% of students scored 4, 66% of PGCPS students, tag students scored a 4 as well. So again, we beat the PGCPS average. Level 3 is 22% here at Greenbelt. For those fifth graders, scored a level 3, 25% scored a level 3 in PGCPS. And so we don't have anyone in Greenbelt Elementary who's a tag student that scored a 2 or 1. So, or 2 or 1 in English language arts or math. So that's good news too. All right, and this is current fourth grade students. And so we have Greenbelt Elementary, level 5, we got 25% here, 12.2% in PGCPS, 63% here, PGCPS, 68%. And so as you can see, we tend to top or beat PGCPS, the PGCPS average in every category. Level 3 is going to have 11%, but again, we have more 4s and 5s than the PGCPS average would. So that's kind of answers that. Level 5s in math, 33% for fourth grade, 27% for the county. So you guys kind of can take a look at the rest of the data that you have in front of you. And so now I can answer any questions that you might have about the TAG program or about the data or anything that you wish to ask about. Yes, ma'am.
I have a concern. My daughter has been working on an independent study project for the TAG program.
Okay.
And as soon as she came home with it, she was very expressive about the fact that here are the people who are tagged in my class, and here are the people who aren't. I thought they were smart, but they're not smart. And it really upset me because I've always seen the tag program here as being something where we differentiate based on where that child is, and this is the instruction they need, and the kids understand that the groups are flexible and they can move in and out depending on what they're ready for. But I think as soon as you're putting a label on a kid in the classroom, then the other kids get the not label. And to be not talented and gifted sounds really bad. And
And so with
I don't
that,
know how it was taught
yeah.
to the children, but I heard it from kids in other classes too, so I know it wasn't just my students' class.
And so I'm wondering, how the message was delivered to the students. I'm not sure because I wasn't there for that particular class. I do know that the independent guided study packets they're using that come from the Talented and Gifted office, it does have a label of Talented and Gifted on it. And so maybe we'll do better about making sure that we remove that label, maybe taking the cover page off. Those opportunities are provided for those students. And then also maybe just expressing that, it depends on the student. So if you think a student is in your classroom that can handle this kind of work and would appreciate the challenge, and regardless of their tag or not, this is something that we want to offer to those students. And there are some tag students who would prefer not to do it. And so you have to look at that as well, right? And so so that's just a learning thing for us. That's an area of growth. And so we'll just come back together as a team and talk about how we can make sure that that doesn't seem so evident to the students about who's tagged and who's not. Yeah, and I know that can be difficult, and I'm sorry that you had to hear that. I apologize.
Oh, no, I worry about the impression all of the children in the class, let alone the school, are getting about what tag is.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to lose their motivation for learning or anything, but.
Right. And so, and that's another thing. We often don't know of the conversations that kids have with each other too. And so unless we're listening to every little thing they say, we don't know what their conversations are. And so I'm pretty sure, just like when report cards go home, kids go home and you say not to show your report card to anybody to get home. But of course, if you have straight A's, the first thing you want to do is rip your report card off and show it to your buddy who might have some C's, right? And that happens a lot too. So it's kind of difficult to provide the type of differentiation that we provide here, which we think is beneficial for the students, and also making sure that we understand and we celebrate each and every student. We're able to meet everyone's needs. So that's a tricky balancing thing that we're trying to work on. So hopefully we'll get better today. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Is there like a proportion of, I know there were like different criteria that went into it, like the testing trumps everything, right?
No, and so remember, it's multiple criteria. And so we do have that one OSAT assessment that measures their cognitive ability in the areas of verbal and nonverbal ability. But then we also look at grades. We also look at the teacher checklist. And so often that creativity piece, that motivation piece that's often there for those gifted students that we measure to identify them as gifted, that will come through the teacher checklist, right? And so we use multiple criteria to determine that.
So, like, let's say that they're doing well in everything except the OSAT, then what happens?
And so they have so I would get a matrix, and that's called the talented and gifted matrix. And that's what we use to identify the students with. And so there are kids who might not perform as well on the OSAT as some other kids, but because they have strong feedback from their teachers through those checklists, or their grades are really high, and their achievement scores are really high, they're also admitted into the gifted program. And so that's why we have those multiple criteria to make sure that we can be more inclusive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what is you were talking about in terms like the growth factor.
Mhm.
The growth factor is like moving up in like, I guess, percentages or the numbers of like their reading level.
Right, and so that growth factor goes back to, did they grow on the reading assessment?
What's considered growth? Is it just like 1% more or is it like?
Any growth. And so if they're showing growth at all, it would demonstrate that. Some kids, considering that was the fall assessment or the fall administration, over the summer, a lot of our kids regressed. And so they started out at the end of the year in second grade, maybe higher than they started in third grade. And so that often happens with the summer break. But sometimes, and that is reflected on that, but as the year goes along, we'll take another math R assessment in the winter, we'll take another one in the spring, and that'll give us a better indication of how well they're growing. Yeah. No, go ahead, you're fine.
So in terms of like I know that like in third grade, they break out into like reading and science. For reading particularly, like I struggle, and maybe I can bring this up here. I don't really know what type of books. It would be nice to have like a matrix of like some books that would be like at that level. Because I know the dog man is, he loves to do that. I'm like,
Right.
not learning any new wording as a parent. It just would be helpful to get some guidance.
Boys, Dog Man or Captain Underpants, and it might be below where they should be reading. We don't want to discourage them from reading that either. Just providing them that is the key there. So they'll continue to love to read.
Add something to that. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up, so that's also a great time to talk to your kid's teacher about books. I've done that in the past as well.
Librarians are helpful too.
Yeah.
And it's a public library.
Well, and I've been trusted as close to learning. Like I've gone to like when I was working at the book fair, I said, you know, she finished Harry Potter, all of them, and she's starting again. What else do we give her? That's at a level that will help her grow, and also, you know, she's actually had some really great recommendations.
And the public library too.
So Ellie, I think you had a question. And then
Yep, we can. I'm sorry.
No,
I apologize.
I'll try to be concise. So I heard you say that there's, they're clustered and that they have these independent research projects, but I'll try to. So I heard you say that there's, they're clustered and that they have these independent research projects, but is there any difference in content? So if a child is in a group that finishes the classwork quickly, I know, my son will always have a book to read, he'll pull his chapter book out of his backpack and start reading, but are there, opt-up contents? Is there extra content for kids that tag or not tag are finishing quickly or in these advanced groups?
And so you're saying the kids, so if they're in the advanced groups, they're getting, I guess, the content that they need. And so thinking about math, and so if you have students who are in maybe fourth grade, who the teacher feels that they're ready for fifth grade math, just based on pre-assessments and based on what they've seen in the classroom, then in their small group, that teacher might be working with them on some fifth grade math standards. And also their seat work as well, or their group work or center should be differentiated as well to meet their needs too.
So I think I am going to move us on.
Please do, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. This was really interesting, and I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you're open to receiving questions after and. Yeah, that was it.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 6 minutes left. We're going to go through committee reports really fast, and we have a couple of things of new business. And you know my thing is we don't go past 8:30. So, Ellie,
I got nothing.
You got nothing.
No,
Okay.
I got-
Woo, save me a minute.
Yeah.
All right, and then I'm gonna read really fast. Pete and Cara were not able to come tonight, but they were our Raphael's race chairs. And that was about a month ago now. We had a great race, and Pete had sent me an update. He had really, well, I really want to thank Pete, first of all, because he had headed it up. I think this is his 3rd year heading it up, and he did a fantastic job. So I definitely want to thank him for all of his efforts. And Cara stepped in to be kind of his co-chair this year and did a fantastic good job as well. Beanie Kelly helped out, and then Errol Mazursky, my husband, helped out getting some sponsorships. And then, of course, the Martins family helped out a tremendous amount. And one of the really cool things about this year is we had more volunteers helping out, including a bunch of, I don't think, are they Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts? Scouts, there you go, thank you. A bunch of Scouts who helped course marshal, which I thought is really sweet and fun. We grossed around $2,300. We still have a few expenses coming in, so we don't have the exact number. And that also does not include, part of this race is every year we've given around $200 to Camp Sunshine, which is a camp that Raphael Martins used to attend. So we need to take that off the $2,300. So probably right around $2,000, which is great about what we were expecting. I was not able to attend this year, but I heard there were 3 T-Rexes who ran it. I think we had a beautiful day for it. So thank you for everyone who helped and supported it in any way. I have the update from Ingrid. Sorry, I took updates to 2 different places on my phone. She said nothing major to report except that the kindergarten project is complete. There's no major projects until the new year, except for changing the tree of seasons to winter with the 1st grade. She's planning for the popular 2nd grade art integration project with dancer Lisa Pelletier. She said that's going well. Mr. Naji is doing a legacy mosaic paper project, say that 3 times fast, for the front of the school with the 5th grade starting next week. So I think that's kind of a follow-on to the mosaic that's out in the front of the school. And this is paid for an ACE grant that she wrote last year. And she said help will be needed later. Oh, sorry, anyone wants to help in the classroom mixing small doses of cement or helping students put on tiles correctly. We have an email sign up that we'll send out with the notes and also through our channels for that. And then later we'll need help installing the papers, but that won't be until the spring. And then the last thing for her is that she does the 3rd grade art journal planning project, which is super cute. And if anyone would like to help make the booklets, it's really just stapling stuff together for her. It's something you can take home. She can kind of send home your student or drop off to you, stapling at home. So that is Ingrid's update. And I think that is up for committee updates. A couple of other things that we have. We still need spring fair chairs. We actually started planning for spring fair, should start planning for the spring fair in a couple of months. And I wanted to highlight this now just because it's November. So planning really starts after the 1st of the year, and our next meeting is not until February. So please think about it. It's actually not a lot of work, but it is if it rests on one person's shoulder. So if we can get a couple of people to help out, Amy Miesel's done a wonderful job in the past, and I will say we've done it somewhat last minute, and it's always worked fantastic. So it's not like it's not like you're planning a wedding. It's not that big of a lift, but we do need people to help out with it, and it is a fun thing with spring. So please contact me if you're interested in that. The other thing that is coming up, last year was the HUG Walk. HUG stands for Help Unite Greenbelt. It was the first year for it, and if you haven't heard of it before, it's kind of a series of walks to connect all different parts of Greenbelt, which is a really nice sort of community building and uniting effort. And there's different sort of paths that you can take. You don't have to walk the whole thing. This year's walk is on March 29th, and Robert Goldberg Strassler is kind of the head of it. He came to talk to us last year, and I told him that we'd be happy to help promote it again this year. But I do think we might want to talk about this a little bit in February, and if people have ideas of how we can promote it, or if there's, I don't know if we want to get the PE teachers involved in some challenges or things like that, but I think it's just a nice, easy way for us as a school to be a part of the community. So just putting that out there. The last few things I have heard from Ms. Hudson and Ms. Colston. The book fair dates are on here. She said it's December 2nd through the 6th. She will have a sign-up sheet soon. I told her if she needs any other help. She always needs a lot of volunteers. I think it's pretty fun. I've never done it myself. But people who've done it have, you're shaking your head, right? Yeah, that it's pretty fun to volunteer.
Can I make a plug for
Yeah,
that?
sure.
I got all my Christmas shopping done. It's great. Because you're there for 2 hours, but the first half hour there aren't any kids, and so I picked out all of my nieces and nephews got books that year. It was great. I got a number all my Christmas shopping. Cool.
The other two things that are coming up, Grandparents' Day, Mrs. Hudson said that December 3rd, the date has been set, correct? She needs help setting up on the evening of the 2nd. Becca Ossie has agreed to be the PTA point of contact with Mrs. Hudson on that. So more information will be coming out for that. I think there were some teachers here until like 8 or 9 the night before last year. So I think, many hands make light work, so we're going to try and avoid that this year. And then she said the holiday shop is December 6th through the 13th. Mrs. Hudson is the point of contact for that. She also said more information will be coming out, but I wanted you to mark these dates just because we do need quite a bit of help, and the teachers do a lot. It's a busy time of year for them as well, so the more we can help them, the better.
Can I piggyback on that statement?
Can you what?
Piggyback on that
Sure.
Teachers are, I forgot we don't have a December meeting. So we do have a teacher appreciation event. I haven't coordinated this. Like the last week of December, last week of school, we're going to have a breakfast for the teachers. So I'll send something on the listserv. But like I said last time, I just need people the night before to like cut fruit and bake goods and plate it, and then deliver it to the school the next morning. And then some people to help that morning to set up and stuff. So keep that in mind.
The moral of these stories, make sure you're on the listserv because a lot of information will be coming out for these things. And the kids love this stuff in school. You'll be getting stuff from the teachers and through the folders and everything like that. But the PTA does like to help support these events so that the teachers aren't even more extended. So that's it. We're 2 minutes over.